in the same article, I was reading the same article that Mark was reading, and what was interesting in the article also was that this £7 a pint would largely be confined to what it described as big cities. Why? Why?
Well,
if it's because of Ukraine and you know, the rising cost of products and the rising cost of CO2, then why would it be cheaper to buy a pint in Nottinghamshire than in London?
Sure, I think the cost of operating in different areas of the country differ, you know. So, for example, in our London sites, it is more expensive for a variety of reasons. And as a result, we have a slightly different price band attached to our sites in London. You know, for the most of our estate, I was just taking a look at the pricing, obviously, before coming on this call. You know, 480, we've still held our entry-level lager across the majority of our estate. But that's not in London. You know, so it does depend, obviously, where you're operating.
Of the ladies out there, is my glass of wine safe? Is the price of my glass of wine going to go up?
Well, I think, you know, the pressures are coming across the board, you know. So obviously we're talking right now about the cost of brewing. We could easily be talking about food. You know, we could be talking about energy. We could be talking about wine. We could be talking about the import duty on some of the beers that we've had to delist because we just can't get hold of them from Europe anymore. So obviously we're focusing here talking about beer, but ultimately the truth is that pressure is across the board, our entire menu.
Yeah, and we were being told that the alcohol duty was going to be cut across the board. That no longer seems to be the case. We'll learn more, of course, on November the 17th. What do you think the government should be doing to help?
I think that's where they've got to look, ultimately. It is the duty. You know, that was a real disappointment to us to hear that. That's where we need the support. And we need the support anywhere we can get it, to be perfectly frank. You know, as I say, the cost of goods is one, labour is another, you know. But there is a labour shortage within the industry too.
Would you welcome a relaxation on immigration rules on that point that you made about Labour?
Well, I think, you know, we've sort of come out of Brexit and a lot of that's been buried by COVID and now the cost of living crisis. And I think we've got to reflect on the fact that we've gone through a huge period of change. And that's not just to do with the pandemic, and that's not just to do with, you know, the fuel crisis in relation to the war. You know, there's also a big change in terms of what happened for us in terms of Brexit. So I do think that needs to be taken a look at as well. Absolutely.
So tell us, how vital then is this Christmas for the industry and the sector to really enable people to keep afloat?
Yeah, I mean, this is absolutely vital. You know, we've been reflecting on a lot at Brewhouse and Kitchen. It's the first time in 3 years, really, that we could have an unprohibitive Christmas. You know, no restrictions in place. Last year, we were doing really well in terms of pre-booked covers across the estate, and then that started to fall away as the restrictions and warnings came back in. So we're really, really hoping across the entire industry for a really strong Christmas period, finally, after all these years of waiting for 2022. Absolutely.
How can we all support our local boozer?
Buy me a drink.
But apart from paying, which doesn't involve spending £7 on a pint.
Yeah, well, I think it's how can we all support each other? You know, I think we also feel that there's a certain sense of social responsibility around not pricing people out. You know, I think that pubs historically in Great Britain have, fulfill the really important duty of being a social space for everyone. You know, and we want nothing more than to be inclusive and have everyone feel welcome and able to sort of use the space. So it really is a case of us supporting one another, you know. We'll do our best if you can keep coming and having a beer with us.